Welcome back to Namatekwita, the Comanche Talk podcast. I'm your host, Saray Taisakai. In today's episode, we sit down with Comanche Nation Funeral Home's Kari Norberto, where we talk about her recent accomplishments of receiving her director and embalming licenses. And we learn about how she uses it in everyday work and to better serve our people and our community. All right, we are joined today by representatives from the Comanche Nation Funeral Home, Kari and Sean. Thanks for coming. It's a place that I think serves not only tribal members, right, but the entire Southwest Oklahoma community.
Yes.
That's correct? Okay. All right, and I want to start by saying congratulations to you, Kari. You are a tribal member, a woman, and you have reached an incredible milestone. So congratulations.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, Kari had earned her funeral director and embalmer licenses. That's no small accomplishment. So your hard work, it's amazing to see what you're doing for Comanche tribal members, for women, and for you to be working for us. So you make the nation very proud. So thank you for being here and for making those accomplishments happen.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into the funeral service.
My name is Kari Norberto. I'm from the Wani-Conawordy family. I grew up here in Lawton. I'm a single mom of two. I have a 15-year-old and a 3-year-old. I started into the funeral home in 2022 as an admin assistant. And then by chance, I kind of just looked into going to school for it. I started to meet with the families and help with the services, and I, in essence, fell in love with the work, helping. And then in the fall of 2023, I went enrolled into Dallas Institute Funeral Service, and it was a 2-year program. And I had credits that transferred over, so it made it a little less but the program in its entirety is lengthy. But I completed that, and then I did a year apprenticeship through the state under a funeral director at the funeral home. And then I took my national boards in Oklahoma City. And there was 2 portions to that. There was the science and the arts. The science is over embalming chemistry and the art of embalming. And the art portion is over restorative art and history of funeral service and religions and different things like that.
That's super exciting. How was that emotionally and academically, just having to go through all those things? Because from what you're saying, that I feel like that's a super intense process for you.
It was tough. It was very it was tough workload academically. I had never taken a chemistry class because I didn't graduate from a traditional high school. I completed through a Job Corps, and so to be put into a lab setting, all of that was different for me. So academically, it was very challenging. And then emotionally, while working at the funeral home, you have to put, the funeral industry is very unforgiving when it comes to mistakes. So lining that up with schoolwork, schoolwork had to be on the back burner because the families and their services came first. And so it was definitely a journey.
And how did you handle that? I mean, did you have a schedule down? I know because you have children, you have a life too. So how did you balance all of that?
I have really a good support system with my friends. A lot of the time, my kids were, I had my best friend, Shelly, and her husband. They would step in and, feed my kids dinner while I stayed at the funeral home late, just so I could accommodate everything. And then I relied on planners. I had a planner full of all these sticky notes and everything just so I could check mark off things. And, sometimes school would take me from Monday when I got all my assignments opened up all the way till Sunday to finish. Sunday at midnight, I would be racing to type papers and to do different things like that. And it was definitely, I feel like I just finished a relay race.
Oh my gosh.
feel like I finished a relay race for sure.
Can you tell us maybe some stories or challenges while you were in school to kind of give us a little insight on how that was for you?
Stories or challenges. I feel like the biggest challenge that I faced was being a woman in the industry, and not only that, but being Native. In school, our services are different from what they teach you textbook wise. So it was like a lot of the things that I was seeing in school was the first time I'd ever seen, a service ran like that, because I had been with the Comanche Funeral Home for for the whole duration of my career. And just like seeing that. And then also the funeral industry is a male dominant industry. Now, it started with females in death care, but just over the years, it's just transitioned. So getting my footing in that was probably one of the biggest challenges that I faced.
Well, you did it. So now you have these accomplishments. So how does it feel to officially earn these licenses, and how have you used them so far, in your career as of now?
Oh gosh, it's humbling. I feel way humbled, and I feel proud. Going through school, it was kind of nose to the grindstone. I tried to detour from any distractions or anything and just keep going forward. And then it feels like I'm like just now looking up and everybody's like cheering for me. So it's like humbling, and I feel proud to be able to, serve the nation and help my people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so what do you hope for families and how they feel when you work with them during this difficult time? Is there something that you learned, during your certifications and licensing that you can now use?
Oh gosh, there's been so much that, has helped me, through school. They give you all the textbook stuff, but when you're thrown in the situation, it's completely different. They can't teach you how to do that. But I feel like I want our families to feel like I'm a pillar. Like, if you need it, I got it. If you want something done and prioritized, I got it. And that's one thing that I think's that's important to the families we service.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a powerful thing. So, kudos to you. I can't say that enough. All right, Sean. So I kind of want to hear from you a little bit. And what are your responsibilities at the funeral home and kind of your experiences there?
Okay, I've been with the funeral home since last February. Started as a maintenance and support, and since Kari's went over to funeral director, I've transitioning over to admin assistant the past couple weeks. But basically, still keeping the funeral home clean, keeping grounds clean, assisting with whatever they need as far as working services and prepping the desiccants. So.
That's a big word. What does that word mean?
The deceased.
Okay.
The people that come
Good to
in.
know. I was like, wait a second. Okay.
But, anything they need help with, anything the director of the funeral home needs help with, or the funeral directors need help with.
Perfect. So helping hand.
Yeah.
And how do you like it? How is your experiences there?
It's been a good experience. This has been one of the better jobs I've had throughout my life.
Have you ever did you ever think to be at a funeral home and kind of deal with these things, or like how did it come about?
I was just kind of looking online, and I seen that they were hiring, so I put my application in and interviewed, and I got the job. So
okay, all right. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for letting us know about that. But let's go ahead and talk about the funeral home itself. Can you share the mission and the purpose of the Comanche Nation Funeral Home? Because it's different. It's ran different than your traditional funeral home services.
Our mission at the funeral home is to serve our families, the KCA, the Comanche Nation, and Southwest Oklahoma with dignity and respect.
And why is it so important for Comanche Nation to have its very own funeral home?
I think it's something we can be like really proud of because we're one of the first and only tribal ran funeral homes in the United States. So I feel like it's important for us because it preserves our culture. We're so culturally based, and it's really beautiful. Like, it's really a beautiful thing.
And let's kind of talk more in depth about Comanche or tribal members and what's different. Can we go into detail about what is so different for our funeral home?
I think one of the things that really took a lot of the people that I went to school with by surprise is that we bury our own. They were like, "You guys do what?" And I was like, I said, we keep shovels in the hearse, and it's an honor for the men in the family to cover the grave on their own. And they were like, "Well, why don't you guys use a backhoe?" And I was like, "That's not tradition." Like, that's not, and I feel like that is one of the things that's significant to Comanche burials. I also feel like the all-night wakes. I didn't know going into school that other funeral homes don't do that. And they were, and, we accommodate services when families want all-night wakes. We know which avenue to take them, or to recommend, or buildings to recommend, and things like that. And that was one of the differences that I seen, and also the hymns and the singing. It's almost like we're sending them, away, and we're singing to them, and it's beautiful.
I agree. And now that we proudly serve our tribal members, but we're also open to the public. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we do. We service the Lawton and surrounding areas with funeral services. With the traditional services for outside of the nation. We do offer the burial, cremations, different things like that, and then also military services. But we also do those for our tribal members as well.
So, I've seen the flyers we put out on our social media, and it kind of talks about the services that you offer. Another one is cremation services. So how do you help families decide what's best for them in that aspect?
For the most part, when families do come in and speak with us, we basically ask them, what kind of service would you like? Would you like a burial? Would you like cremation, graveside? And they choose from there. We kind of give them all their options on the table and kind of talk them through what we can do and different things like that to tailor to what they want as a family for their loved one.
Yeah, I totally get that. And for that loved one, how do you ensure traditions and customs are respected? Is that something that you have to talk about during, your initial meeting?
Yeah, we when we initially meet, we usually go over, the different things that they want for sure, like from the beginning. But a lot of the things, a lot of the traditional things, families like to do those themselves. So they'll just let us know, this is what's going to happen at the funeral service. And and then we cue in the pastor and anybody else, and then they're able to do their traditional things, their customs for their family, because each family has their own different things that they want done traditionally. Okay,
and maybe to go more in detail, is that something that I know for Comanches, is it a lot of the same traditions? You kind of have those people on speed dial because they use the same people, or is it pretty much different in every situation?
It's different in every situation and just how they want things done. Yeah, It varies. And it varies by tribe, too. And some tribes, a lot of their traditional things are private. So, they'll tell us, like, this is what we're going to do, but we need you guys to step out, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about the military. Do you offer military funeral services, and kind of what does that look like?
We do offer the military services. That's usually with the CIVA will come, and and do their part during the service. And then we handle contacting the military honors, and that's coming out for them to play the taps and for them to come out, play the taps, and present the flag.
Okay.
And it's really pretty, especially when you tie that in, like for our tribal members that are military, and you tie that in with the Native part of it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And you talk about reaching out to the CIVA or to certain like community centers or buildings or things. How well does our Comanche Nation headquarters and, our other services, how well do they accommodate? I mean, are they pretty quick with it? Are they, always willing to move things around to make sure that the funeral services are a priority?
Actually, all the time, our funeral services are priority over the community centers and watch taker hall and different things like that to accommodate our tribal members.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. And can you kind of talk about bereavement support and funeral assistance and why that is so important?
So we have the bereavement assistance, and that's a payment to the family, immediate family, 18 and over, related to the deceased. Do you know?
Yeah, so it's mother, father, brother, sister, children.
Okay.
Yeah, 18 and over enrolled in the Comanche Nation.
And is there any documentation that they need? Where can they find this application?
The application's available online. We also have paper applications at the funeral home, and they will submit their CDIB with the application, and then we verify everything and then let them know if they're approved, and then we move forward and process at the funeral home.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's time for us to take a short break. We're going to hear from JJ Sconchin, our PIO director, about all the upcoming Comanche Nation events, and we'll be right back.
Hi, Maratweka Namana, Nese Jolene Sconchin, and I am the director of the Comanche Nation Public Information Office. Please take note of the following events happening in Comanche country. The Namana Thurita is having its first Prince and Princess to represent the Early Childhood Development Center. It is open to children enrolled at the ECDC centers. People can donate to their favorite candidate, and the candidate with the most votes will be crowned on March the 2nd. All money raised will go towards the ECDC Activity Fund. Call the office for more information. The Comanche Tribal Court's legal aid clinics will take place from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on February 4th and February the 11th at the courthouse. Contact the Tribal Court for more information. The Comanche Nation Administration and Child Care Development Program will present Cocoa with the Chairman and Family Game Night, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday, February the 6th at the Comanche Nation Complex's Watchataker Hall. Come enjoy a cocoa bar and family games. All youth ages are invited. The Numina men's basketball team will have a benefit powwow 1 p.m. February the 8th at the Comanche Nation Complex's Watchataker Hall. The Comanche Nation youth dancers will perform on February the 10th at the Thunder's Blue basketball game in Oklahoma City's Paycom Center. Please note that the contact information for the programs I mentioned is available on the Comanche Nation website, www.comanchenation.com. Also, look at the Comanche Nation News of Oklahoma's Facebook page for additional information about the events and the activities. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Reporting for the Comanche Nation PIO News, Nese Jolene Sconchin. Ura.
All right, so now that we're back from break, it sounds like you are meeting with families wherever they are emotionally and culturally. For many people, this is probably their first time ever planning a funeral. So what usually happens when a family first contacts the funeral home?
So we have a system for on-calls. Each employee at the funeral home we take turns having the on-call phone, and when we get the death call, then that information's taken down, vital information, and then given to the funeral director. And the funeral director will make contact with the next of kin, and then the planning for arrangement day to come in and go over all of the details of the service, and we have to verify enrollment. And then we kind of just go over the things that they want as far as, what cemetery, or if it's a burial, and then cremation, we go into the details of that and what their options are. Because there's so many more options than what people think with a cremation. You can have the decedent present at the service, and then you can do, or you can do direct. So different things like that. We just map it all out and kind of get what the family wants.
And I think, families, they get kind of overwhelmed and unsure of where to begin. How do you help them through that process?
You talk with them. And kind of just go over everything. And it's so much paperwork when you come into the arrangement office, and we don't want it to feel like we're just throwing all this paperwork at you. We kind of explain what this is for and what this is for and what are your options. And we go over like the burial assistance amount, because each tribe has their own different amount. And we do our best to keep them within budget and still accommodate everything that they want in that service.
Okay. So. And if you could maybe kind of tell us a walkthrough of the scheduling process, how long does all of this take? And then, when the funeral comes, kind of how does that work?
So we do our best to accommodate, the time frames. The families will say, well, we need at least 3 days to get all of our people here from out of state, and this and that. Also, the bereavement assistance is what helps get the families home, because they're given an amount to travel, and that's based off distance. So when they give us these timelines, we do our best to work with it.
Okay. And how do you explain options in a way that doesn't feel rushed or pressured for them?
We just open schedule for the week. If there is a day that we absolutely can't do a service, say that we have one already scheduled for that day, then we let them know, like, this day is off, but we have all of the rest of the week available. And we also try to accommodate on the weekends, weekend services for a family service.
And how involved can the families be in the services themselves?
We try to get them a lot of families like to be involved from beginning to end. But we have run into situation where the grief can get so heavy that's hard for someone to navigate through. So our job at the funeral home is to walk with them through it. So, while still letting what they want be aligned, and we give, recommendations, options, different things like that to help.
And I know that can be super overwhelming, like you said, and difficult, because I can remember a time specifically, my grandma just passed a year and a half ago, and me and my sisters, decided to come and dress my grandmother. And I think, honestly, if it wasn't for you being in that room with us, I don't think we would have got through that. So talk about the compassion that you have to have for this role and kind of, working with families through something like that.
It's so different with every single family. It's so different, and you become attached. You're carrying that with them. You're trying to carry it, through the funeral industry and through this profession. I realized that a lot of the compassion that I carry came from my grandma. So when I see families that kind of mirror that, like with your sisters and your grandma, I knew what that was like. Not exactly, but I've been there, and my grandma was a really instrumental person in my life. She instilled a lot of you always do good for people. And she said, you do good for people because one day you're not going to be here. And one day someone's going to do something nice for your children or for your grandchildren because you were a good person. And that's something that I've had to, or realized that, just through working and everything with the families, I've realized that a lot of my compassion came from her.
Yeah, I agree. I am the person today because of my grandmother. And I don't know if I ever told you, if my sisters ever told you, but thank you for that day. I know obviously that day we were everywhere. And so, the thank you didn't come out, but thank you for that. And, obviously my reaction right now, grief doesn't always end at the service. So how do you support families emotionally during and after the services?
I would say during the service, you just be there. Make sure that I always try to make sure that they see me. Like, I don't want to be front and center. I would, I'm like right here if you need me. If you need something, I'm right here. That's, as I said, it's a heavy thing. And it's a solo journey too. That's the hardest part, is that, after the family and friends disperse and go back to their lives, then you're still there and you still have that. And I think the after support for the families would be acknowledging them when you see them out and, say hello and, greet them. And I've had a lot of families do that to me because sometimes I'm not, I don't know how to put myself out there. And I've had families when I'm out at Walmart with my kids and they'll come up and they'll acknowledge me and, and that's, and just talking with them, checking on them. How is your, family doing? How's your sister, checking in on them. That means so much when you're on such shaky grounds, you're so sad, and just talking with them.
And I know that you don't do this alone. You have more team members, at the funeral home. Kind of how do y'all work together to ensure that y'all can handle all of this emotion and overwhelmed feelings, in day-to-day operations at the funeral home?
We definitely have each other's back. We double check everything, and we communicate with each other, overly communicate, because the funeral services are things that you can only do one time. And we make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted all the way through. And that's done by all of us communicating with each other. So, yeah.
And do you all have similar titles, or is there something specific for each employee that they have to focus on?
We have 5 employees at the funeral home. We have our director, Carmelita. She's over the whole program, the whole funeral home. And then we have Keela Cable. She is our bereavement assistance coordinator. So she processes all the applications for bereavement. And she's also the burial assistance coordinator. So she handles all the burial assistance applications for the Comanche Nation. And that's for tribal members that also decide to use a funeral home outside. Then we process all those applications at the funeral home. And then we have myself and Charlene. We're funeral directors and embalmers. And our funeral director in charge is Marilyn Hadaway. And then we have Sean, he's our admin assistant. And Sean really steps in for us as far as helping with the services, making folders, preparing the hearses, maintaining the vehicles, all of that. And it's just, we all step in where someone needs help. It's not something where we can designate certain things. We know that there's a service that day, so we're all gonna make sure everything's right.
And it sounds like you're the only male there. It's all women. How is that for you?
Yeah, that's okay.
Good. Okay. Just checking. But I want to kind of circle back to something important. You know, we're talking about services again, and we proudly do serve Comanche Nation members. But because of also serving the surrounding communities, why is that so important for us?
Serving the Southwest Oklahoma, I feel like it's I guess creating a good foundation for our tribe, a good reputation. You know, we've had numerous families come in who were non-tribal, and they said, our grandpa seen how you took care of his best friend, so we want you guys to take care of him. He wanted you guys to take care of him. And we're like, okay, so it's really an honor when we have, people from outside the tribe or even outside of being Native come to our funeral home and say, you did a great job here. Please do that for my family. And we're like, you know what? We got you. Like,
It really strengthens our relationship with the rest of the community. So
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree. And that's a good foundation to have. Apart from that, of the families, seeing what you do for our tribal members, how do you build trust with families who may not be familiar with Native-owned services?
I think just staying true to our mission and our staying on the ball with everything that they want. Word is bond in this profession for sure. So if you're going to say something, you have to come through with it. And the funeral industry is unkind to error. So definitely just coming through with our word and doing our best.
And what message would you want to give to the wider community to know, or what would you want them to know about the Comanche Funeral Home and why y'all are, the best at what y'all do?
I think our funeral home has evolved, over time. And I think we've learned from, or I know personally, I've learned from a lot of mistakes that I've made, and I've chose to model my career and how we help people through mistakes that I've made. And I think that I would want them to know that, we are diligent in our efforts, and we put our best forward for not only our tribal members and members of the KCA, but for the whole Lawton and surrounding areas.
So maybe someone who's possibly intimidating or doesn't know that we help, the Southwest of Oklahoma, tell them where to start.
So someone seeking our service in the Southwest Oklahoma and Lawton surrounding areas, they would contact us and at the time of death, and we would move forward with the arrangement like we would our tribal members.
Okay, so it's good to know. Let them kind of give them reassurance that, we are like other funeral homes. We will help you too. I mean, obviously in some aspects we're different, but,
Yeah.
It's the same process. Don't be scared to come and get assisted because
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So before we wrap up, Kari, what advice would you give young people, especially Native women, who are interested in this field?
Nose to the grindstone. Get your, I feel like to all young people, they've get your footing in education, start with your basics, and then figure it. And if the funeral industry is somewhere that you want to grow a career, you just have to do it. You have to get in school and nose to the grindstone. And Dallas is a wonderful school. I went to Dallas Institute of Funeral Service. Everything was online for there, but there's also UCO in Edmond, and there's a few other colleges that offer the degree in funeral service, but it's definitely a process, and it can be overwhelming, especially with running, because you have to run a year apprenticeship under a funeral director. and going to school and running that apprenticeship is probably going to be your best avenue to take. It's not going to be easy, but it can be done.
Yeah, you did it. You can attest to that. So, with all of that being said, what does it mean to you to represent Comanche Nation in your work?
Oh, man. Oh, it means so much. I really don't even know how to express it in words, because it's more like feeling. I never have accomplished anything big. My whole identity as an adult has been a mom, and so those wins as a mom, me and my babies, we've celebrated, and it's like to do something that makes the nation proud of me. I feel humbled, and I feel grateful, and I just feel good, and do right by my people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, congratulations. And one more time, if you could just tell the people how they can reach the funeral home, where you're located. That way, for someone who maybe is listening or wants to learn more, they know where to start.
We have updated our phone number recently, so they can reach us at 580-360-0528. And we're also located at 2701 Southwest J, and that's in Lawton.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for all the work you do for honoring families and walking with these families through probably the hardest time of their life. And once again, congratulations. I can't stop telling you enough. And so listeners, until next time, we'll catch you on the next one.